Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. You know, it's something that really affects your life, but a lot of times we don't really pay a lot of attention to it, or we don't really have a plan. And I'm talking about budgeting for your life, budgeting for your home. There's some formulas to go along with that there, how to figure out how much you should be spending on, let's say, your rent versus the things you want, the things you need. How much should you save? Let's talk to a professional about that. She helps people all the time figure that out, empowers minority communities to take control of finances, helps you save, build some wealth, have a better future by taking control of your finances. And she's the woman behind 3B Financial. She's also our Professional of the Year. LaTanya Stewart is back with us. How are you doing today?
I'm well, Steve. How are you today?
I'm good. And I have no idea what I should be budgeting. I just spend and drop the card down and pay it off. And so I'm glad we're digging into this here today. Are there formulas? Am I right in thinking that there's some rule of thumb in terms of what you should be spending in your life? There
is. One of the things I say is, I always ask my clients, how are you managing your money? And I kind of get these blank stares. And I'm like, do you have a monthly budget? Then it's like crickets in the room. They're like, well, what? How do I do that? So I honestly tell them, it's like, let's start with your income. Because, you know, some people are still hourly employees. You have overtime. Therefore, your paycheck fluctuates. You know, this week you may have a straight 40. Next week you could have 45 hours versus the salaried employees where regardless of how many hours we work, those paychecks are still the same.
Yeah. It's interesting how many of us don't even, I think we don't want to pay attention to it because it'll hurt. It just won't feel good. What's the starting point? I mean, obviously the biggest chunk of change comes with housing and always has been, right?
Yes. First thing is we pull the check stubs and people get stuck with gross versus net. It's like, no, what is your take-home number? Because your employer can guarantee you that after your statutory taxes, deductions, I always tell them, what is the amount that we bring home every pay period? Then the first thing is, what is your rent? What is your mortgage? And typically we can always say, within the first week of the month, that bill is due. Then I say, do we have a car note? Because we need transportation to get from point A to point B, i.e. work, to get that check. Then we would look at your household bill, your utility, groceries, the necessities you need in order to just maintain your daily life. Then I say, let's look at those extras in life, the entertainment, your pets, things that come up, but you don't think to budget for it because it's like, oh, the dog needs dog food, we just go buy it. But what I really get people to do is let's add those things into your monthly budget so we can honestly evaluate what's really going out instead of looking at the online banking app, okay, I got to pay, and then money goes out. And then I'm learning clients end up coming up short, and they don't know why. And it's because they're really not stopping to take a deep dive into their expenses and what they're spending.
What about this one? I mean, your housing is what it is. You can't really change it. Although, going to be full disclosure here, they sent me a rent renewal because I'm in between houses. And I sent them an email back and said, can we do anything on the rent there? Things are we're having challenges. I did that even on my office rent. And I'll tell you, they weren't able to lower the rent, but they took in the beginning, and I totally forgot about this, 2 months security. So they said, all right, what we can do is take off what you wanted us to cut your rent by the monthly payments coming off 1 month of your security deposit. So I'm really getting what I wanted. It's not it's not forever, but at least, you know, for the next, 6-8 months, I'll be paying a little bit less in rent. Can't hurt to ask.
And that's the biggest thing. I always tell people, don't be afraid to ask. Just pick up the phone and call.
Yeah. You can't. Times are tough for everybody right now. And, you know, in terms of office space, there's lots of places that you could go. So start where you are. Food, big expenditure. Prices are going up. They just continue to. How do we figure that out? Is there a plan or formula for that?
Meal prep. I ask clients, how often do they eat out?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot, it was like, oh, we don't eat out a lot. So I'm like, well, what's a lot? I said, okay, what do you do for lunch at work? Go downstairs to the cafe? Okay, well, you just ate out. And then they look at me like, oh, because they're associated with work. I ate, but they're paying for it. I'm like, so no, that's you eating out. And now when you speak about your rent on your business, a lot of companies are asking employees to come back to work 5 days a week.
Right.
So even that is increasing your cost. One thing when you're at home, you walk into the kitchen, but when you're out, you don't think about it. So what I ask them to do is, how many times do you go out? Do you eat out for lunch? Do you go out with friends and family once a week? Add that up. And for some people, it's costly. So what I suggest is begin a meal prep. How can we cut back on that cost? And one of the things I tell them, make out a grocery list before you go to the grocery store. Because when you walk in blindly, usually we overspend. Because it's like, oh, I think I need sugar, but you had a half a bag in the counter cabinet at home. So it's like, go through the kitchen, plan your meals for the week, and actually go in the store with a grocery list. Then you are intentional about your spending. Because it's like, hey, I need these 15 items, I'm getting these items, and I'm walking out. And it really helps people not to overspend, for example, when they're in the grocery store.
It is so easy. And I do make a list, and it's not maybe a super finite list, but I got, a plan when I go in there. I got to tell you, it is so easy to just pick things up. Oh, let me get this. Oh, you know what? Let me pick that up while I'm here. Let me get this. Let me get that. I wonder what that tastes like. I never saw that before. You can really get sucked into grocery shopping and spend a lot more than you were intending to. So stick to the list. And I've often heard this too, don't go when you're hungry. I don't know. It makes sense. Right?
Yes, that's a big one. Because yet again, you're in there hungry, so everything looks good that day when you're in the store.
Yeah. And when you think about meal prepping and how much money you can save, when you really start adding it up, it is substantial as opposed to either eating out or I've tried prepared meals, try to go the healthy route. But when you take a look at for $10, what they're giving you, it's okay every once in a while to treat yourself. You want to eat something healthy like that. When you take a look at what it costs to make that meal, that $10 meal, I'm going to say, no exaggeration here, probably, if at most $1. I'm not even kidding. Maybe $1.25. Pure profit for the company. Now add that up, for a week of dinners, what you got there. That's $70 right there. If you prepped it yourself, you could do that probably, for a third or a quarter of what it costs. How about some other things that we can be mindful of when we're trying to budget at home?
You and I have spoke about this before, but I'll bring it back up. The cable bill, the phone bill. Yeah. What are we spending? Because yet again, people are going back to work, so that fabulous extension on our cable services we got, well, now we're not home to watch it.
Yeah.
And especially your subscriptions, the Netflix, the Hulu, Disney Plus, and everything else out there, a lot of those bundles. Now we're outside of the home more, like we used to be. Reevaluate what you're paying for. Do I really need these 200 plus channels?
And it's interesting when you just spend the time, and that's all it is, taking the time of where you might get some deals. So my cell phone plan, they pay a portion of my Netflix, about half. Not that it's a big number every month, but I'll take it. Thank you very much. And streaming, so much more cost effective. I cut the cable cord, and it wasn't easy. Had cable for a lot of years. I think I shared with you last time. I went from $95, which was basic cable, phone, and internet. I wasn't even watching TV, not cable. Never used the phone, except telemarketers call on it, and that's about it. Even the 95 was a great rate, And even the customer service rep, when I said I was going to cut it, they said, wow, you got a great number here. And I find that out when I talk to friends as well. But I took that down to $50, 100 meg more in internet speed, which I'm good with. But $50, that's it. That's my internet. High quality, all good. And I just stream everything. If you can do it, it's so well worth it. It really is.
Absolutely.
And we did talk about negotiating, or at least discussing. I had a medical bill that was due, and wasn't planning that it would be so high because I thought it was mostly covered by insurance. And they called up asking to be paid. And I said, can I pay it in installments? They said, sure, we can do that. We'll put you on auto pay. I'm like, thank you very much. So I'm good. And no finance charge or anything like that. Why wouldn't you? I'm good with that as well. I'm just sharing some ideas. I would love to hear any other ideas that you have.
In addition with the savings, like this time of year, depending on where you are in the U.S., it gets colder. You can negotiate with like your utility company, like here in California, it's PG&E. And because typically we're home, it's cold, you turn up the heat. Well, you can call, they have a service, well, they'll take your average over 12 months and split it out. So instead of October, November, December, you have several $100s. You'll pay a little more during the summer months, but it doesn't hit you as hard in the winter months when our bills typically go up.
I think they call it maybe balance billing?
I think so. Different states do different things. I forget.
Sure.
Here it's like an energy savings plan.
Gotcha. Yeah. And you just brought back a memory when I was, before I sold my house, a few years before, I wanted a digital thermostat so I could be able to control things by an app, program it, just more versatile. It was worth it. Wasn't really that expensive. Then I found out that the utility, if you allow them to have control over it in extreme situations, let's just say it's a heat wave and they want to put a certain hold on it so you can't run your air conditioning super cold so they save electric, for other people and there's no brownout situation. Rarely happens. And I check everything. Rarely, I don't think, maybe once they did. For allowing them to do that, they send you a rebate check every year. Yes. So I was like $30. So I was like, okay, great. Didn't have to do anything. Just check off a couple of boxes and sign up for it.
Exactly.
Any other tips? Budgeting, saving money tips? What can we look at?
One of the things most people don't do is creating a financial emergency fund. Because we're talking about budgeting, and it's kind of like those main things: food, utility, shelter, and transportation. 4 basic things that we all need to survive. But many people don't have money saved up for that emergency. And it could be the transportation. Something happens to the car.
Sure.
Now what do? Hey, tires, maintenance. People don't budget for something as simple as our transportation. We get in the car, we put gas in it, and we go. But you have to do the monthly services or annual services, your oil change. You'll need tires. But a lot of people don't plan for that, and now it's an emergency. And unfortunately, we're pulling money from another area to cover that cost. So I almost feel that we should create savings as part of our budgeting every month because life is going to show up. We don't know when, but it will show up.
Yep.
And by saving, you're prepared for it when it does.
I won't even go into the detail of being in that situation last year. And thousands of dollars car expense, wasn't expecting it. Let's just say it was a hit. It was definitely a hit. You're 100% right. I've been doing this lately. I just want to share it. It's so ridiculous. It's so simple. It's so obvious. If you're going to buy something that's not essential, wait. Leave it in the cart. Wait for it. And then you'll probably realize that, I really don't need that. Well, what was I thinking? And then you'll just empty the cart out.
And it comes down to wants versus needs. Kind of like how we're talking about grocery shopping. You see that gallon of ice cream. Do I really need it or do I want it? And then you look at the costs associated to it. Even in the store, think about it that way. Is this a need or a want? And you may put it in the grocery cart, and you walk around the store and you look down before you get in line. It's like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
And go put it back.
100%. Absolutely. Oh, and I just thought of one other recent situation. Auto pay. They give you a discount. I know my phone, my cell phone company. I get a discount every month. I think it's like $10 a month for doing auto pay. You got to pay anyway. So if you can do it, I don't know why you wouldn't do it. You're saving $10 just like that.
You just got to make sure you got the money in the bank.
Well, of course. Well, listen.
But that's another way people got a little bit. So we set up a bunch of things on auto pay. Mm-hmm. We're using the debit card like crazy, and we forget that the phone bill is getting ready to come out on the 12th of the month.
Yep.
So it still goes back to that budgeting. Auto pay is great, but we still got a budget to always make sure the money is in the account when they go to pull it, so that we can avoid those late fees and overdraft fees, which can be pretty hefty. I know a lot of banks, they'll charge you $35 per overdraft fee, which can add up pretty quickly.
Yeah. I did get hit with one, and it's very rare. I couldn't even tell you the last time. Years have gone by. I called them up, and I said, this was an error, and I've been a long-time customer. Can we take that off my statement? And they did. Don't pay it.
Most will waive it. But yet again, to what we were saying, picking up the phone and calling and asking.
Yeah. So worth it. Just even the principle alone. Handing them over money, which could have been an error, or you know what, you didn't catch it. Whatever the situation may be. Obviously, if it's a reoccurring situation, they're going to know.
Yeah. Now we have a bigger problem.
Yeah, we have a bigger problem, right? Then we call you immediately. So, in all of this, recording expenses, writing it down, keeping track of it. I bet you a lot of us don't even do that. We don't even think about doing that. What are your thoughts?
Some people you can just, and this is what I grew up watching my grandmother do. She had a notepad in the dining room in one of the drawers, kind of where she kept all the little knickknacks. Every month she pulled it out and got her little pen, put the bills next to her, and she wrote them down. But in today's society, we're so much savvier with technology. Pick a budgeting app. They're out there you can download on your phone. You can do a simple Excel spreadsheet, which is one of the things I provide my clients, which automatically does the math for them. All they have to do is plug in the numbers. Even when they have additional expenses, just insert a line. It's usually what's comfortable for you, but so many of us are glued to our phones. I recommend go out there and find a budgeting app that works for you. If you're more of a computer person, you want it bigger, you can use an Excel spreadsheet to do it. But it's getting in the habit of doing it every month.
That's just it. And I believe everything we're talking about here is habitual. Being mindful of leaving that in your cart, whether it's in your shopping cart, whether it's in your online cart. Doing these things on a regular basis and recording your expenses, it just becomes autopilot after a while. Yes, in the beginning, it's a pain. I get it. It's just more work for me now. But after you do it for a while, it's just, you don't even know you're doing it. You're just keeping track. And then you feel this sense of empowerment. I have to believe like I'm in control. I know what's going on now.
Absolutely. And I learned some of my single clients are afraid. They're embarrassed. So I tell them, find an accountability partner, somebody you trust, to help hold you accountable to make sure you do it. And what I recommend is doing it when you get paid. Payday is a great day to sit down and do your budget. Or even your monthly, mid-month check-in. A lot of people get paid twice a month now. That's your check-in. Sit down, open up your computer, pull out your phone, and balance it. And then I even have people create a column of what they actually spend. And they're realizing they're overspending. But typically within 3 months, they now see their trend, and now they're able to pull back. And then we've been able to create that emergency savings that many of them didn't have.
Right. When you're saving, what are your suggestions? Of course, a savings account, it doesn't bring you a lot of interest these days. A CD, whether it's short-term or a little bit more longer-term. Those are the initial ones that come to mind. Any other thoughts there if you want to save and what you should do with that money?
I recommend it have come directly out of your check. So you aren't responsible for physically making the deposit yourself, and send it to another institution that's not tied to your regular banking. Earn it, because usually you bank at Bank of America and your savings is there. Well, it's very easy to transfer the money from account to account. And you're dipping into that savings when you shouldn't be. If you use an outside bank, an online bank, you have to kind of work at it a little bit to get the money transferred to you. So I kind of think of savings as out of sight, out of mind, because when you don't see it, it'll grow.
Mm-hmm.
In a couple of months, you'll look in that, let's say, $25 a pay period. Well, now you look, it's like, wow, I saved $500. And it was effortlessly, and you didn't miss it.
You know what? That is probably the most important thing we can talk about here today. Just out of sight, out of mind. Just let them take it out. You'll get used. It'll hurt in the beginning. I get it. But after a while, it'll just become, this is my budget. This is what I got to work with. And then you'll turn around and say, wow, look at how much money I saved over a period of time.
Right.
When it comes to home saving tips, maybe we should focus on that for a couple of minutes. I've heard of things like lowering the temperature in your water heater. Of course, refinancing your mortgage depends, the rates now, maybe not the best time to do that. Would be nice. Any other thoughts, home-wise to make some, pinch the pennies, if you will?
One of the things you said, time is getting ready to change here shortly. Set timers. Like you said, you have the digital thermostat.
Mm-hmm.
Set the timers. Some people have the heater on at night. And I'm like, why is your heater on at night and you're in the bed asleep?
Right.
Turn it down. Have it set to come on maybe an hour before you get up to knock the chill off the house. And we have all these smart electronics, the smart bulb.
Yep.
Something I was taught as a kid, when you're not in the room, turn off the light. Because, we're home and we're just going from room to room, leaving on lights because we've been accustomed to being at home because of COVID. You're not in the room, turn off the light. Something people have said, unplug those electronics.
For sure.
For the women out there, the hair dryers, the curling irons, when you leave in the morning, unplug them.
I think they call it phantom energy, where you don't realize it, but it's sucking up a certain amount of energy, even leaving your TV plugged in. Now, it's not a huge savings, but it's definitely, if you really want to clamp down on things, you're wasting money just by having things plugged in. It really is the truth. Just to have a display on something, it's using some type of energy to do that. And certainly, I don't think there's any thermostat nowadays, unless you're in a very old home that's not programmable. Most of them in the last 20-something years, all programmable. Even if they're basic, you can still program it with a time that it's going to either raise the heat, lower the heat. So taking that little extra time, what a savings that is alone. And also even just in the summertime, closing the blinds.
Yes.
I'll tell you first off here, in this studio, I'm in an office building, we haven't had AC for 3 days. Something went wrong, waiting for service. In this area, it's an independent unit. I wasn't aware. I figured, somebody's called them already. Nope, it's just in this area. It's been hot. And why? Because number one, I can't open the windows. Number two, there's no covering on the windows. It's like an oven coming off the windows, heating things up where it's hot. It's great in the winter. That's one thing. But in the summertime, not so much. A little warm in here, but it's all good. I'm not paying that bill.
Well, another thing, like to your point with that, they have blackout curtains that'll keep the heat outside.
Yes.
Something like that. I know here we talk about peak hours. I think it's 3 to 9. Not doing laundry and things like that. We just have to be more conscientious of what we're doing in the time of day we're doing it.
100%. Love these tips. I love the fact that we're just kind of rolling with it. Just idea pops in your head, you share it, and you're very organic that way, where you've got the knowledge over the years, and this is what you do. 3B, B as in budget, 3B financial.co is your website. If somebody's looking to change it up, budget, just improve their financial situation, they can reach out to you and basically you become their money mentor like your grandmother became for you.
Absolutely.
Always great talking with you, LaTanya. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for being our professional of the year.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that so much.
Same here. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.